I was just leaning in and I'm having sound come. Hey, this is no apologies on Beck.
I know, right?
You got me. I am your host, Rick Becker, our co-host, Lori Hintz.
It's going to be an interesting week.
It's going to be, apparently, it feels like it's Friday, but it's Monday.
I know, it's weird.
So, yes, we're here. And instead of trying to figure out where the sound's coming from, I just turned my volume down and we're good to go. We're good to go. So, folks,
all right.
It's going to be one of those weeks. So
yes, I think it is. Hang
with us. It might be a bumpy ride. It might not. You don't know. Tonight, we are going to be covering some of the highlights from CPAC, which occurred over the course of this weekend. There were several highlights. We're going to get some good ones. But first, we've got a couple of segments where we are going to be covering HR 1. So what we're talking about is in Congress, and they number their bills, they number their resolutions, and so number 1.
This is their first and biggest priority. Now, there are those that say we should make it as easy as possible to vote and as hard as possible to cheat. This directive does precisely the opposite. It makes it as easy as possible to cheat and as hard as possible. Actually, it doesn't make it as hard to vote. Everybody can vote. Your horse can vote with this HR 1, the way it's set up. So,
they've got. They have several things in the package, but it's primarily looking at voting, and we're going to be covering some of that tonight for a couple of segments. Probably extend it to tomorrow night where we might hit a little bit more. There's a lot in the bill. It came up back in 2019.
Right.
A slightly different version than this one, but most of what's in here was in the HR 1 from 2019.
Correct.
That passed in the House 234 to 193.
And then stopped in the Senate because it was not brought to a vote.
Right. It didn't go anywhere in the Senate. But now that the Democrats have control of the Senate, it certainly is going to move to the Senate because it will certainly pass. I'm told that they're looking at next week, voting on it probably Monday.
It did actually come up at CPAC as well. People were sounding the alarm at some of the breakout sessions. I was binge watching. So, yeah, and they, agreed with me in that this is the most dire and frightening thing to come out of the Biden administration yet.
Yeah.
This would fundamentally change everything to do with elections.
Yep, I've got it up here on my iPad, and I mean, it is extensive.
This big old pile of garbage is 791 pages long. This is a pile of refuse. The whole thing is chock full of ways to thwart the election process in order to allow more people to vote.
Yep. Let's pull up a graphic. We've got a few we're going to cover here. This says to expand, this is the purpose of it, to expand Americans' access to the ballot box, reduce the influence of big money in politics, strengthen ethics rules for public servants, and implement other anti-corruption measures for the purpose of fortifying our democracy and for other purposes.
Yeah, you should worry when they ever say "and for other purposes," because you should know that that means nefarious purposes, first of all.
Right.
And to expand Americans' access, the bottom line of this is that they have managed to go and look at all of the things. If you were to list every single thing as a safeguard for protecting the integrity of your election, they are absolutely one by one throwing them on their head.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely they are. And the thing is that this is what kills me is I had a few people talk to me after the election, and they feeling that essentially all was lost. That with the Democrats gaining control as they did, where there were a lot of questions on election integrity, and then gaining the House and the Senate and the White House, that Republicans aren't going to win any more elections. And I said, well, that might be a little extreme. Well,
after you look at this,
I read this, and it's very, very extensive. That wanting to stop the restriction on the ballot box. The question is, no one's being restricted on the ballot box. Right. Republicans have always been in favor of restricting illegal and fraudulent voting, and that's it.
Yep, that's the only thing that is the problem.
Always encouraging all other votes. And what was said in the last election, every legal vote should count.
Correct.
And I don't know, you can't argue with that. You just can't argue with that.
This monstrosity, and why do I always have to use that word with the Biden stuff? But this
it
one
is.
is $500 million.
Yeah, pull up the next graphic if you would. $500 million for fiscal year 2021.
That's 1 year.
So that's 1 year. This is going to be an annual thing. $500 million for this, which is, peanuts.
For whom?
And it says such sums as may be necessary for each succeeding fiscal year. So this is the thing, is that we, the taxpayers, are going to be paying $500 million for them to implement policy and law,
mind you,
which will make the elections less real, less true,
right?
less honest.
Less honest. Yeah. But and you're paying for it. You are paying them to ruin the elections.
Right.
It's just.
And the various organizations that are involved with this are going to be the recipients of our taxpayer money. $500 million every year.
I know it is. It gets more and more shocking too. The further you read on, the worse it gets. Let's show the next graphic down the line here. We've got a lot of them here too.
Yeah. So this goes to the Heritage Foundation. Now this is a Heritage Foundation put out a really good article, and there are several. I mean, I pulled up all sorts of articles that are discussing this. I mean, it's a huge, huge thing. But this one back from 2019 is a particularly good one. It really hits the nail on the head. Yes, it is referring to HR 1 of 2019. There's some slight changes, but with regard to the campaign and the election, integrity type thing, it's effectively the same. And so in this one, they say HR 1 federalizes and micromanages the election process administered by the states, imposing unnecessary, unwise, unconstitutional mandates on the states and reversing the decentralization of the American election process, which is necessary for protecting our liberty and freedom. So Heritage Foundation
nails it in one little phrase right there, and that's all of it. And they are exactly right. And the last thing that we need is federalized anything, let alone the elections. Think about the ramifications of that. You once again are usurping the authority of those sovereign states, and you are putting onus on them in a federal sense, and it's terribly dangerous. It's just horrible. Okay, keep going. We've got another one. Here we go. The bill interferes with the ability of states and their citizens to determine qualifications for voters, to ensure the accuracy of voter registration rules, to secure the integrity of elections, to participate in the political process, and to determine the district boundary lines for electing their representatives. So everything is stripped away one piece by piece by piece in this piece of legislation, and I'm terrified. I'm really, really, really worried about it. I am.
There's parallel concerns here. Obviously, we need to be very concerned about how our future elections are going to be handled. But again, the parallel is that much like the executive orders you and I have been discussing, this federalizes everything. This takes away the sovereignty of the states, the power of the states to conduct, Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis talked about 50 laboratories of democracy.
That's out the window.
This just part and parcel takes it, says forget it. We're going to do things from a centralized Washington swamp perspective, and you states that want to do things the way you previously could and were always of the understanding that you should, we're taking control of that. That I think is something that we can't lose sight of, and it's coming around again and again in the executive orders, in this monstrosity, as you call it. We are losing the power of the states, which is supposed to balance the power of the federal government, and it is because of the progressives, the leftists, the Democrats in power, it is shifting dramatically in favor of federal power.
It is. It's not good. It's not good, and we got to do something about it. So we'll be right back, and we are going to talk some more about HR 1 when we do come back.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Pub 21, your one stop for fun, drinks, and food. Our spacious facility provides COVID-safe fun for you and all your friends. With nightly bingo and specials, you can be sure there's something to do for everyone. If you're staying in for the night, we've got you covered just across the way with Pub 21 Liquor. We have a wide variety of options, from wine to whiskey and everything in between. Stop in today at 1014 South 12th Street in Bismarck to see what all the buzz is about. You won't be disappointed.
We're back. It's No Apologies on Beck. We're talking about HR 1 in the U.S. Congress, and we're expecting it's going to be brought up next week. HR 1 is a vast, all-encompassing election reform, and
it's going to have, on that. That's all true.
It's going to have huge, huge ramifications on the entire nation, and certainly in North Dakota. We've gone over a couple of the areas in that first part, and we want to hit several more, so we're going to go clicking through them somewhat fast. We've got the next graphic up where it says to seize the authority of the states to regulate voter registration. I mean, this is something that belongs.
Just the word seize should put fear in your whole body. That is, yes, forcing the states, anything that forces states to do stuff is unconstitutional, is it not?
Well, yeah, it should be, and it should go against the anti-commandeering doctrine. I think this is going to have huge problems, which we can talk about more as well. That's coming up later as far as them expecting lawsuits.
Right.
But they're going to force states to implement early voting, automatic voter registration, same-day registration, online voter registration, and no-fault absentee balloting.
That word "no fault" is also a big red flag to me as well. That means everything goes. That means everything goes.
Each of these things increases the possibility and likelihood of fraud.
Right.
The earlier you go, the more likely you lose chain of custody. You have various issues with regard to that. That's problematic. The online registration, of course, you're looking at hacking opportunities, all sorts of opportunities. The no-fault absentee balloting is probably the craziest thing.
It is.
Just
whatever.
You're absent, you bring it in, you have a signature, you don't have a signature, you have it postmarked, you don't have it postmarked.
Anybody can sign anything too, by the way. That is just part of the deal. You know what, if you just want to sign it, you know, they're not going to verify anything, so just sign it, whatever you want to sign it, you know.
Yep.
The next one, let's show this one. Voters who vote early don't have the same information as those who vote on election day. What a great point. Missing late breaking developments that could affect their choices. And this is a real red flag as well, because that's 100% true. How many times has that happened? The October surprise comes and then you're regretting what's going on. So that's another iffy one too. Let's move on again here too. It will degrade the accuracy of registration lists by automatically registering individuals from state databases such as DMV and welfare offices by registering large numbers of ineligible voters, including aliens, as well as multiple or duplicate registrations of the same individuals. So everything that you could possibly envision that could go wrong will go wrong with HR 1 because they're allowing it to be lawful for some reason. All right, the next one is delightful too. It constitutes a recipe for massive voter registration fraud by hackers and cyber criminals through online voter registration not tied to an existing state record such as a driver's license.
Yeah, again, the whole idea here is to just make it so that anyone can vote, whether, because again, Republicans have been in favor, every legal vote counts.
Right.
And Democrats have,
every
based
vote
on
counts.
their actions.
Every vote counts.
Not their words, but their actions.
Right.
Every vote that they can get counts.
Right.
And
legally or illegally.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Next
matter.
graphic.
All right.
Requires states to count ballots. Oh no, we got Constitution. Oh, constitute a recipe for massive voter registration fraud. We just covered that. Go up next.
This is the one. Requires
that's what I'm
states
looking
to
for.
count ballots cast by voters outside of their assigned precinct.
Right.
Overriding the precinct system, again, overriding, used by almost all states that allows election officials to monitor votes, staff polling places, provide enough ballots, and prevent election fraud mandates. No-fault absentee ballots, which are the tool of choice for voter thieves.
Right. Can you imagine requiring states to count ballots that were cast in the wrong place? That's, I mean, again,
it's ludicrous.
It's tying the hands of the states. I mean, you may as well erase state lines and just be one huge Democrat-controlled country.
And does this, I mean, this would affect the 2022 election for all intents and purposes, would it not, if this is passed? So the problem is legislatures wouldn't even have the opportunity to put in, unless they're all doing, 31 states are doing legislative sessions, emergency sessions, like hold up, you know, and then you still have the other, 18, 19 states able to use fraud. And whatever you do to thwart the government, this is a huge government overreach, and it's bold, and it's audacious and right in your face. It's just kind of astounding. Yep. And I suspect that the left is sneaking it through as best they can. But I bet that in probably national news, you probably normally are not going to hear a lot about HR 1. That's just my bet. It's probably being suppressed. Am I?
Well, maybe.
I did hear about it because I was watching CPAC, and they talked about it. But other than that, I haven't seen really, well, I purposely don't watch the lamestream media, so I guess
Let's pull up the next graphic. This prevents election officials from checking the eligibility and qualifications of voters and remove ineligible voters. It prevents them from removing ineligible voters.
What?
It includes restrictions on using the U.S. Postal Service National Change of Address System to verify the address of registered voters. Again, nuts. Participate in state programs that compare voter registration lists to detect individuals registered in multiple states, or ever removing registrants due to failure to vote, no matter how much time has gone by. These are things that if you cared about election integrity, you would be opposed to.
Every single possible way that you could cheat is given free run in this HR 1. It's just astounding.
Let's hit another one. We've got more. This will cripple the effectiveness of state voter ID laws, which North Dakota has a fantastic voter ID law.
I concur.
Scott Lauser was here last week and explained all about that. It cripples it by allowing individuals to vote without an ID and merely signing a statement in which they claim they are who they are.
They say they are.
You think about what you need an ID for. You need an ID for everything.
Yeah, that is very, very true. You do. You need to be able to buy medicine at the pharmacy. You need an ID.
They say this disenfranchises someone who's poor. Well, isn't it kind of ironic? To be able to get food stamps, you have to have an ID.
How about this? Pick up mail, or how about this? Packages at the post office to buy certain cold medicines, as I said. Things like if you need a hotel room, you have to have an ID. If you want to get married, buy a gun, any of those things, you have to have an ID. And yet this law would say you do not need any type of identification to vote.
And what they've done, and they use the same playbook over and over and over again.
Agreed.
They set up a boogeyman, and they say Republicans want to disenfranchise you from the vote. They want to keep minorities out. They're the bad people, and all of this is to prevent them from doing that. So they set up a situation which doesn't exist.
It's a false narrative.
They have a solution which doesn't help the situation that doesn't exist, but it actually takes attention away from what they're really doing. And what they're setting up is to make elections work in their favor, not in the favor of the people.
Exactly. The next three or so are really frightening, as if the other ones weren't. Expand regulation and government censorship of campaigns and political activity and speech, including online and policy-related speech. H.R. 1 imposes onerous legal and administrative compliance burdens and costs on candidates, citizens, civic groups, unions, corporations, and nonprofit organizations. The next one, reduce the number of Federal Election Commission members, now think about this, from 6 to 5, which will allow the political party with 3 commission seats to control the commission and engage in partisan enforcement activities. That's just a power grab. That's like packing the Supreme Court right there in this.
Yep.
The next one is equally frightening, require states to restore the ability of felons to vote the moment they are out of prison. Section 2 of the 14th Amendment gives states the constitutional authority to decide when felons who committed crimes against their fellow citizens may vote again. Congress cannot override a constitutional amendment with a statute. I don't know. Transfer the right to draw congressional districts from state legislatures to independent, oh, that should terrify you, commissions whose members are unaccountable to voters. H.R. 1 mandates inclusion of alien population, both legal and illegal, in all redistricting. This takes away the ability of the citizens of a state to make their own decision about redistricting.
Let's look at a couple of those. That last one, the redistricting. Republicans control 31 states, I believe.
Right.
And the Democrats have good control of 18 states. So they recognize that by taking power away from the states to redistrict, which North Dakota is going to be doing this year, they move that power to the federal government, of which they currently have control. And so that's just an all-out
power grab.
Oh, absolutely.
Like not even couched in anything.
The requiring states to restore the ability of felons to vote, they recognize that what they're doing, first off, and elsewhere in the bill, they recognize that a disproportionate number of felons are African Americans.
Right.
And they say, and they're always saying, hey, if you're black, you have to vote Democrat, which is in such a huge insult.
And not happening so much anymore either.
But what they want to do then is say, well, if there's a disproportionate amount of felons that are black and blacks vote for Democrats, then what we want to do is make all felons vote. So they're completely ignoring the Constitution. And you know, we could go on and on and on. We'll probably bring up a little bit tomorrow night about some of the other aspects.
Probably.
But and in fact, I think I'll save the discussion for anticipated lawsuits for tomorrow night. But ladies and gentlemen, you saw in the graphics it said 2019. Keep in mind, it's the same bill, essentially the same bill as what they have in, what they will be voting on next week. Stick with us. We will be right back. We're going to have some brain food.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Beck Communications is hiring. Beck Communications is seeking qualified candidates for plant technicians in our Wheatland, North Dakota location. Beck Communications is an equal opportunity employer. To view the job details, visit www.beck.coop. To apply, email your cover letter and resume to careers@bechtel.coop. Beck Communications, making connections that matter.
If you're a Beck Fiber customer or the dependent of a Beck Fiber customer, you might qualify for scholarships. Beck awards scholarships to seniors headed to college or to students attending University of Mary. Go to www.beck.coop for eligibility guidelines and applications.
The experienced professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Did you know the Foundation for Rural Service awards scholarships for rural students? The scholarships range from $2,500 to $7,000. Go to www.frs.org for information and applications.
Hey, welcome back to No Apologies on Beck, your after-hours oasis of sanity. It is time for
Brain food. And we're going to just give you a little food for your brain. This first one comes tonight from somebody who private messaged me, and she said, want you to know how much I love your program every weekday night. And then she suggested this topic, which I love, data or datum. Have you ever heard of datum? Datum is rarely used. Data, like a lot of technical and academic words, comes from Latin. It used to be considered as a collective singular noun. In formal documents for scientific or scholarly writing, data is mostly used as the plural of datum. Datum, of course, a singular, yet for those non-scientific background, data is common for people to use for both plural and singular use. It is acceptable to write a sentence as translation data is available on their website. Data is a mass noun. Mass nouns denote something that cannot be counted. They're so huge you can't count them. When you refer to a small piece of data, this may be called datum. You knew this, didn't you, already? Yes.
I can't act surprised. But I still can act interested.
Okay, thanks. Well done.
Wait,
good
here
acting.
it is.
Okay, very, very interesting. Thanks for that.
You're very welcome. All right. So my two bits of brain trivia tonight are on this date.
Oh,
bits.
great.
Yes.
March 1st.
March 1st. On this date, the state of Franklin in the United States ceased to exist.
The state of Franklin?
In 1788.
Like as in Ben Franklin?
Yep. The state of Franklin. Pull up the map here. So you see North Carolina.
Look at that.
And then between Tennessee and North Carolina is Franklin. So the thing is that after the war, after the Revolutionary War, North Carolina was like, how do we help pay for this? And they said, you know what we're going to do is we're going to take this territory between the Appalachian Mountains and this river, and we're going to give it to the United States, federal sort of government and say, you take control of it, it's yours, that's our payment. And so then there was this extra territory, and then, which was unfortunate for the people living in the very western part of North Carolina, because then they had to fend with Indian attacks and stuff, and nobody from the federal government would help them because it was this sort of weird territory. So it was ceded by North Carolina, right? But then the federal government said, no, you know what, we actually don't want it. And then, so it was, then at that point it became still part of North Carolina, but then the people of Franklin said, no, we're seceding from North Carolina, which they did. And then that didn't go well. Eventually it became a part of Tennessee when Tennessee became a state.
Oh,
but there
interesting.
You go.
I have
State
never heard of the state of Franklin before. That is a great little tidbit. I've never heard of that. My next word is the word debunk, which is interesting because I just today saw something on Debunk. Something was emailed to me. So to debunk is a transitive verb to expose the sham or falseness, or to debunk a legend, for instance. If you guess that debunk has something to do with bunk, meaning nonsense, you are correct. We apparently started using bunk at the beginning of the 20th century. It derives from a remark made by a Buncombe County, North Carolina, again North Carolina congressman. A little less than 25 years later, debunk was first used in print for the act of taking the bunk out of something. Some synonyms would be confound, discredit, shoot down. Debunk. If you debunk something.
Okay, my last one. Did you hear that LeBron was arrested at the Capitol?
I did not.
Yes. And are you a fan of LeBron?
No, I am not. He's rather full of himself, I would say.
No, I'm sorry. The LeBron I'm speaking of is a lady.
Go figure. Nailed it.
Bring up the graphic.
You got it. All right.
There's Lolita LeBron.
Well.
On this day in 1954, there was a terrorist attack on the Capitol, the United States Capitol. Yes, it was the Puerto Rican Nationalist Party that attacked the Capitol. There was
I did hear about there was a shooting in the gallery, right?
Yes, 5 congressmen were injured. Nobody died.
I did hear about that.
Yes, and Lolita LeBron was arrested, and I can't tell you how everything panned out for them. I'm guessing not well, but that was on this day in 1954.
Okay, well that's great history, excellent history today. I mean, I have to do that myself. Are you looking? Oh, there's somebody outside the window. Okay, that's new. All right, so when we come back, we are going to give you the whole view of what happened at CPAC. I was binge watching, so a lot to see.
Howdy folks, it's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Respect, innovation, trust, and excellence. These core values can be seen in every building built by Straightway Construction. In the community for over 15 years, Straightway Construction has become the premier construction company for commercial projects. From dirt to design and framing to finish, Straightway Construction is your #1 choice. You won't have to look far to find a project that has that Straightway touch. Call them today or go online to straightwayconstruction.com and let them make your vision a reality.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
Welcome back to No Apologies on Beck, and we are going to now talk about CPAC. Lori's gonna set the table for us.
Well, the bottom line is that I'm a nerdy nerd who really, really loves CPAC anyway, and I thought maybe I was going to go this year, didn't go. Then I had regrets, so I watched the whole thing and binge watched the whole weekend and just going, oh, why did I not go? So next year, Lori's going to be going to CPAC, just so you know, because no more regrets. But what I did was I compiled, and first of all, the speech was an hour and 15 minutes late to begin with. So you have all of this waiting and all of this anticipation. And I had two very, very good RNC, National Committee woman friends who were there in the room. One who was sitting front row, like fourth row, front and center. And so I'm texting back and forth again, eating my heart out. I'm going to give you a rundown of what these clips are about so that you can see them, and we'll just let her buck. We'll let them run. So the first one is talking about the question on everybody's mind, the possibility of a third party, and he addresses that. Then he goes on in the second one to talk about how Biden is not getting the kids back to school. Then he actually tackles the subject of men wanting to compete in women's sports. He then discusses the future of the Republican Party and talks about a postmortem after that of what happened with the election, which is instructive and very interesting too. Then he goes on to call out people by name who are rhinos, and that is a fantastic thing too. And then he rounds out towards the end of the speech, predictions for the next 2 years and then 4 years from now. So I went through his speech and I took out all the best parts just for you. So let's roll.
It's going to unite and be stronger than ever before. I am not starting a new party. That was fake news. Their callous indifference to working families is equally clear when it comes to the critical matter of getting America's children back to school. And they must get back and get back right now. Right now. Crazy. We must protect the integrity of women's sports. So important. Have to. Is that controversial? Somebody said, well, that's going to be very controversial. I said, that's okay. You haven't heard anything yet. Our party is based on love for America and the belief that this is an exceptional nation blessed by God. We take great pride in our country. We teach the truth about history. We celebrate our rich heritage and national tradition. We honor George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, and all national heroes. And of course, we respect our great American flag. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because of my efforts campaigning, we had huge gains in the House, and I helped keep many senators in their seats, and they will admit it, so that it's now 50-50 instead of Republicans being down anywhere from 8 to 10 seats. And they'll admit it. We'd be down 8 to 10 seats if I didn't campaign. We held rallies for some of the senators that were down. And nobody talks about that. Nobody wants to talk. The press doesn't talk about it. With me at the top of the ticket, not a single Republican member of Congress lost their race for the first time in decades. We won 26 of 26 toss-up races. Toss-up. Think of that. 26 of 20, and those are toss-up. Those are races that could go anyway. We were expected to lose 25 seats, and instead we won 15 seats and almost, oh, why couldn't we have done a couple of more? Almost cost Crazy Nancy her job. We'll do that the next time around. I received almost, listen to this number, because, you know, the fake news doesn't ever talk about these numbers. I just heard this one for the first time. I received almost 1.5 million more votes than all of the Republican House candidates combined. So how the hell is it possible that we lost? Instead of attacking me and, more importantly, the voters of our movement, top establishment Republicans in Washington should be spending their energy in opposing Biden, Pelosi, Schumer, and the Democrats. I've said to some of them, I said, you know, during the Obama years and now during Biden, if you spent the same energy on attacking them, you'd actually be successful, as you do on attacking me in many cases. The Democrats don't have grandstanders like Mitt Romney, Little Ben Sass, Richard Burr, Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Pat Toomey. And in the House, Tom Rice, South Carolina, Adam Kinzinger, Dan Newhouse, Anthony Gonzalez, that's another beauty, Fred Upton, Jamie Herrera Butler, Peter Meyer, John Katko, David Valadeo, and of course the warmonger, a person that loves seeing our troops fighting, Liz Cheney. How about that? The good news is in her state, she's been censured, and in her state, her poll numbers have dropped faster than any human being I've ever seen. So hopefully they'll get rid of her with the next election. Get rid of them all. And we've had tremendous victories, don't ever forget it. With your help, we will take back the House, we will win the Senate, and then a Republican president will make a triumphant return to the White House. And I wonder who that will be. I wonder who that will be.
I wonder who that will be. I wonder who that will be.
Yeah. Well, and he had said somewhere in there too about the maybe he'll beat them for the third
time, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Maybe we'll decide to beat them for the third time. Yeah, it was a rousing speech, as you could see the crowd there. It was interesting for me to watch the crowd because there's always a large contingent of young people at CPAC, and so I saw a lot of MAGA hats and a lot of young people there. A lot of people unmasked. There were people who were masked, and then there were people who were unmasked, both of them. The other thing is the Hotel Hyatt that hosted CPAC was attacked for doing so. Heaven forbid, you know, they had to try to cancel the business, and Hyatt hotels just went, sorry, still doing it. Yeah. They had none of it, which is really nice and refreshing to see a business stand up to the bullies. So.
One of the big things I was wondering about is this whole third-party thing, because you and I talked about that before, right, where I think that would have been a horrible mistake.
Exactly.
And so I was happy to hear him say that.
You and a lot of other people.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was good news. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting
so good stuff. All right, when we come back, I'm going to give you another CPAC overview, this time of some of my favorite speakers at CPAC this year. We'll be right back.
There's nothing more important than family. And at Prairie Rose Family Dentists, we get it. That's why we have more locations, more dentists, specialists, extended hours, pediatric clinics, and even emergency appointments, so you can always be seen. Book your appointment today at prairierosedentist.com. Prairie Rose Family Dentists. We are family.
Deciding how to promote your business can be hard. Visit the professionals at Dakota Promotions and Printing and let them help you through your struggle. Dakota Promotions provides promotional items and apparel from corporate gifts to team shirts and everything in between. With quick turnaround times and friendly service, they are your best choice. And best yet, you're shopping local. Visit them online at dakotapromo.com or stop in their showroom at 320 West Main in Mandan. Dakota Promotions, delivering promotions just for you.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county. Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Coulter Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back. No apologies on Beck. It's segment 5, and we're talking more about CPAC. You've got some of your favorites.
I do. Some of them were really fantastic, and we will talk about Dan Bongino ad nauseum, I'm sure, probably tomorrow as well. But some of my favorite speeches included, well, all of the rock stars of the conservative movement were there. And at one point when I was looking at CPAC in advance, I saw that they had 90 speakers scheduled. And I started looking through the list, and I'm like, wow. And I checked 2 days later, 127. They had all of these people in various breakout sessions, and they were very instructive. It was great for me because I wanted to learn about election integrity issues, and I got a great deal of that instruction. So here are my favorites. We're going to start with extremely animated, very fiery Ted Cruz.
And they look at Donald J. Trump, and they look at the millions and millions of people inspired who went to battle fighting alongside President Trump, and they're terrified. And they want him to go away. Let me tell you this right now, Donald J. Trump ain't going anywhere. And the Republican Party is not the party just of the country clubs. The Republican Party is the party of steel workers and construction workers and pipeline workers and taxi cab drivers and cops and firefighters and waiters and waitresses and the men and women with calluses on their hands who are working for this country. That is our party, and these deplorables are here to stay. Every one of you has a platform. Every one of you has a voice. The corporate media wants to silence these voices. You have a platform. You know, last year I launched a podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, over 25 million downloads in a year. By the way, please go subscribe, Verdict with Ted Cruz, Verdict with Ted Cruz. Click on subscribe, 5 stars, please. But you know what? You have the same platform. You have social media. You have your friends, your neighbors, your family, your classmates. Speak out for freedom. Because I'm going to close with these words of encouragement. These are dark days, and the media tells us this is the new galactic empire forever and 1,000 years. But already Joe Biden and the radicals in his administration, they are already overshooting. They are already going too far. Their policies don't work. They are disasters. They are bad. They are destroying jobs. They are stripping our freedom. And there is a natural pendulum to politics. And the country will come back to sanity. And mark my words, 2022 is going to be a fantastic election year. And so is 2024 as we stand together and defend liberty, defend the Constitution, defend the Bill of Rights of every American. In the immortal words of William Wallace, freedom!
In the immortal words of William Wallace, freedom! Yeah, that was fantastic. It was just really fun to watch that live, not gonna lie. And the people in the crowd were just frenzied and going crazy too. Another one of my favorites was the inimitable Jim Jordan, and he knocked it out of the park as well. Let's look.
Cancel culture going to attack next? Think about it. Think about it. They canceled the host of The Bachelor. They canceled the star of Mandalorian. They're coming after Fox News, Newsmax, One American News. You see last week they tried to cancel Kermit the Frog and Mr. Potato Head. You see that? They backed off Mr. Potato Head. I think he told him his preferred pronouns were he, his, him, right? I mean, this is scary where the left wants to go. Barry Weiss, editor at the New York Times, former editor at the New York Times, said if you engage in wrong think, you engage in wrong speak, you are going to face the digital Thunderdome. They're going to harass you, they're going to come after you, they're going to come after your family, they're going to come after your employer. It is sick where the left wants to go, what they are doing to the Constitution. Think about the world of sports in just the last year. Drew Brees said you should stand for the national anthem. He had to go into the Thunderdome. James Harden wore a Back the Blue, support the law enforcement mask. He had to go in the Thunderdome. Mike Gundy, did you follow this one? Mike Gundy, football coach at Oklahoma State. Remember this? Mike Gundy goes fishing with his family, posts a picture on social media wearing a One American News t-shirt, almost lost his job. Think about that, almost lost his job for fishing in the wrong shirt. This is scary where the left wants to take us, and we have to fight back every single time we see it.
I love that. I like the fact that both Ted Cruz and Jim Jordan said, we need to fight back. We need to not just roll over. They're going to overreach. They're already overreaching. Here's how they're overreaching. We need to just not accept it.
Oh, what he brought up is amazing.
Okay, we're almost done. The piece de resistance, the lady to the south of us.
Good afternoon. You all look wonderful. Well, it is such an honor to be with all of you here today. My guess, oh, thank you. Now listen. My guess is that a year ago, most of you had no idea who I was. But unlike the DC media, I'm sure that you all at least know that there are 2 Dakotas, and that I'm the governor of the warmer one. Now, in South Dakota, I provided all of the information that we had to our people, and then I trusted them to make the best decisions for themselves, for their families, and in turn, their communities. We never focused on the case numbers. Instead, we kept our eye on hospital capacity. Now, Dr. Fauci, he told me that on my worst day, I'd have 10,000 patients in the hospital. On our worst day, we had a little over 600. Now, I don't know if you agree with me, But Dr. Fauci is wrong a lot.
My favorite part of that clip is she just goes,
Yep.
shrugs her shoulders like, he's wrong a lot. So she was fantastic as always.
Yep.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem.
Fantastic.
Very, very positive. And I don't know if anybody has read about the straw poll that was taken at CPAC as well, but amazing numbers for President Trump. The kind of the runner-up was Ron DeSantis from Florida, and third place was Kristi Noem.
Very interesting. Okay, next time on No Apologies on Beck, we're going to be covering a little bit more about HR 1. We're going to be hitting some Dan Bongino.
It's going to be
Lots
so
of good
good
stuff.
So good.
See you tomorrow night.